But, I always I help the people in my group kind of brand themselves. Because again, I think coming up with something catchy really does work. And that's where you start, because then when you say it and people say it all the time, they remember you, and then you get to build from that.
She's giving me an idea. Maybe the J's backwards. The John Jones.
Ooh.
Reverse hook. That might be some bling there.
I like it. You're going to have to pay her royalties, though.
Yes, I love that even more.
We'll negotiate that later.
Yes.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Contacts to Kontracts podcast. I am Bryan Lovell, always here with our amazing co-host, Mr. John Jones, and we have a special guest today, John.
Yeah, we have on the show today, we have on our rookie series, we have Kris Radermacher with Lincoln Lending here in the Tampa Bay area. And super excited to talk to her because she does some cool stuff on social media. And when I mean cool, I mean K. So
Yes.
we can start out with that. When did you start with the K and branding yourself with Ks? I think it's awesome.
Ironically, I worked for Interlink. That was the second company that I had gone to after I started being an LO. And I was talking to them hey, I want something fun to do. And they actually came up with it for me. I was really, really fortunate that I had a good marketing team there. And so it was kind of a more, basic idea. And then I just kind of ran with it over the years. And now I have a guy and I'm I need it to sparkle. And he comes up with it more. Okay. So I've been really blessed in that way.
Excellent. So, and when you started, in the business, you didn't start as a loan officer, correct?
No, I started actually in 2007. I started in foreclosures, and I slowly worked my way through. So the only two things I've never done is underwrote a file, and I've never done a package at closing. Okay. Otherwise, you name it, I've sold loans. I've been a loan officer assistant, a processor. I mean, everything on the planet.
So great understanding. You can put a deal together, know how to structure it.
That's my strong suit.
Yeah. Okay. So to put some meat and potatoes to this real quick. So how long have you been just originating?
2018. You
started in 2018.
Yep.
And what did your
April.
volume look like in 2020?
Oh my gosh. So last year I closed 19.339 or something like that. Okay. So
phenomenal.
Yeah. The first year
Congrats.
I think I did 2.3. The second year about 7.8, which is crazy story. Most people don't realize I switched 4 companies that year. Was a little bit insane.
And still
kept
13 million?
7.8 million. Yeah. Still was proud of myself on that one. And then last year, about 19.33 and well on track.
Yeah. Well on track here in 2021?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Blessed.
So I figured what we really like to talk to you a little bit about today is how did you go from here to here? Because that's a pretty nice increase. Pretty much being new, you've been originating less than 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I was really fortunate. I got a phone call to open a Fairway branch with somebody. I went and worked with him. I literally ran all the LOs. I did everything, literally. He just was a face. And, things got to the end of that. And I just said hey, we'll part equal ways. I won't take any business. And I was like, crap, what am I going to do now? Crap with the C, because it's a bad C. Only good words get case. And so I literally went to Zillow, typed in Clearwater, and any agent with a smiling face I called. Literally.
No kidding.
And just pitched a reno product. That's all I did. And I would go look at their houses and I would say, I saw you closed on 123 Happy Street. It looks like it was a great home, probably needed some work. Did you know about a renovation product? And literally went from there. I was really fortunate. An agent I still work with today, she called me from Spain on vacation, was I need to know about this product. Let's meet. And it kind of just tumbled and went that way. Facebook has been my friend. I took full advantage of that last year. I was before, but it really kind of peaked last year. Okay. As you know, John, I'm in every single probably Facebook group on the planet.
Right.
I'm always answering people's questions. So I have LOs across the United States that send me deals or call me just for help. And that's kind of really how I built my business. It's not about the money. It's about making sure that people get the loans they deserve. Yep. Especially when I have to clean up somebody else's mess, unfortunately. But yeah, and I will do any loan on the planet. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to do a barndornium. I'd love to do a container. You send it to me, I'll figure a way to do it and somebody to sell it to. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So after being in the business since 2007 and a number of different roles, I'm going to go with you've probably seen a thing or two.
Oh my gosh, a ton. And it's great because literally when stuff comes up, I've helped other loan officers close stuff because people are like, you know what? And I've just made a lot of friends. So if I can't figure it out, I will help them figure out something. And I think that's too the benefit. I feel that LOs always focus on the dollar and they don't focus on really what it is, helping people get into homes.
Home ownership.
And that's how it's helped me build because, again, I have clients I may never ever get the loan from, but I'll help them. I'll look at your loan estimate to tell you if it's correct. If I think the other deal is better, I'll tell you to take it all day long. Because that's what it's about. It's not about stealing some deal to get the extra numbers. I don't have to because when you give, you get. So.
Yeah.
So doing all this business in a short amount of time. So what does your team look like now? Is it just you? I mean, you've done everything. Yeah. So please tell me you're not processing and doing everything.
No, we're really fortunate. I have a great processing team at Lincoln Lending Group. Where she's a contract processor for us. I just literally added my first loan manager. She started with me about 2 months ago. Otherwise, I did literally all the volume myself last year.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
Congratulations, but time to take it off the table, off the plate a little bit.
Yeah, so that's the goal now is to start building the team, hire some people, and, I'll never be out of the business because I'm too A-type, but, just to get further away and ensure that my loans are getting done the same way I want them done, just with great people.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. I think, John, we run across a lot of LOs who want to be in the same position as Kris and start growing their team by adding some leverage. So you said this person's only been with you for 2 months. Like, what's your goal with them? Like, what part of the business are they going to take away from you so that you can go focus on growing your business?
Yeah, it's still early. She came from a bank. She did HELOCs. She's awesome, smart, really wants to learn. So right now I'm transitioning her to learn how to turn my files in. I still do the pre-approvals. She's working to learn how to set up once the contract comes in, get together the loan and then put the package together to go to the processor. She's keeping track of like my CDs to make sure those go out on time. And anything else they can come up with.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think, at the very beginning, we talk about this all the time. At the very beginning, their role is this wide.
Yeah.
Right. It's very wide and not very deep. But as your business grows, that role becomes very deep and not very wide. Yes. Because at some point, you're going to get to enough volume where all they're going to be able to do is what you just said. It's going to be, hey, get my files set up, get them into processing, make sure my file flow is going, and that's the only thing they're going to have time to do.
And one thing I share a lot with LOs, because I get a lot of newbies who ask me stuff, don't worry about starting big, right? Like my idea was I had to have the most solid foundation for whatever environment. Like my loans closed. I didn't do many, but they all closed. I had very little fall through unless it was, like the house or inspections or something like that I couldn't control. I don't send out a pre-approval if I know I can't close it at the end. I just won't. And that's okay if they want to walk away because what happens, I get the phone call that I have to save it because I knew up front. And that really helped me build my business. Because people know when they see my pre-approval, I did my work. I just didn't willy-nilly hand out something and hope, And I think that's the most important is take it slow because it will come, way quicker than you think.
So you're involved actively in calling on realtors. Right,
I am.
To get your leads, but you're also doing some refinance business. How are you getting those leads being new to the business?
Right.
Is that through social media?
Yeah. So a lot of it was through social media. I was really fortunate to just pick up random people. I mean, honestly, I sit in the groups. Like somebody left the other day and said, like, as soon as I see a post, I basically see Kris responding. They're like, do you have like something that just like dings in your house and tells you? And I'm like, no, I just learned the importance of sitting. And ironically, one of my first bosses, who I won't name, used to tell me to get off effing Facebook all day long. He's like, you sit there too long. Get in the offices. Nobody's in their office anymore. Like you could show up 1,000,000 times during the day and get not more than 5 people. They're all on Facebook. It's a captive audience all day long. So that's where it's going to be. And now it's paid off.
Absolutely. Good for you.
And then another secret sauce I will share is every month. So I got to do this today. I send out an anniversary card for all the loans I've closed the years before.
Congrats,
handwritten with a gift card in it, a small gift card, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
To every single person. I don't care, refinance or not.
Yeah.
Every single person.
Okay.
So, and that really, helps. I mean, it gets me a lot of deals too because they remember it might not be for them, but there aren't many loan officers that do that kind of thing.
I love that because I think, in the environment that we're in, and you're talking to this a little bit, like people don't have our business card. right? Like if an agent referred a borrower to us, it was a text message or an email. Like your business card isn't like in their wallet or in their office or something like that. So if you're not doing things to stay in front of
Post-closing,
them,
they forget.
and one of the things I used to do back in you guys are going to think this is crazy, but back when I originated, I used to do a handwritten note card on every pre-approval that I got.
I love it.
So if it was an agent who I got a lot of pre-approvals from, I wouldn't do it every single time. But if it was an agent, that I wasn't doing a lot of business with, every single time they sent me a referral, I would send them a handwritten thank you note, and I would put 2 business cards in there. One of them was a magnet. And what I was hoping, of course, happened is that magnet gets slammed on, their beer fridge or the fridge in their kitchen or whatever. But I used to do the same thing with every pre-approval of a borrower I took. I wrote a handwritten note, 2 business cards, one regular, one up on the refrigerator, the magnet. And that was because, like, I recognized nobody has my contact information. And, like, until I got smart, when I added people in my phone under, this is the, like, irrigation John. Like I forget who the irrigation guy was because I don't remember his name. But now if I go type in irrigation, that's how I remember who it is.
Right. Painter Joe. Yep,
Yeah.
That's a good system.
I always laugh. I don't have business cards. I have business koozies. I literally carried a ton of them in my car, in my purse. I was out with a friend the other day. This guy sitting across the bar. He had a beer, no koozie. I walked over and handed it to him. He's like, "Wow, thanks." I was like, "Don't want your beer to get cold or warm." Excuse me. And then as I'm walking by, like, people are, "Do you have any more?" And I ended up handing out a bunch. And one guy's called. He's not ready to refi, but he's going to keep me in mind. And I think, because again, the business card's a little outdated.
I love it because I think this is old school stuff. You know, like another thing, I think you laughed at me. I shared this with you, but around like this time of year, Memorial Day, 4th of July, I would go buy tons of sparklers.
Oh, genius.
Right? And so somebody in my family would tie a box of 3 sparklers together, and I would put the business card on it. You could punch a hole in that koozie, I guess, and do that. But I would go to like these fireworks shows, bing, bing, and everybody's coming up. Hey, can I get some sparklers for my kids? Can I get some sparklers for my kids? While you're waiting for the fireworks show to go off, people were asking me. But I'd also go into real estate offices and what have you and drop that stuff off. But like the crazy little cool stuff like that, it still works.
It is. And I have to tell you, you either love it or hate the K's, but no matter what, you spend hours talking about me, and that's what all I care about. I kind of laugh. So when I decided,
we love them.
When I decided to go broker, right, I was interviewing and somebody said, "Go talk to Frank Cotto." And I was like, "Well, maybe." And he said he actually didn't really know who I was, but somebody had been in the office and said, "Do you know this girl who spells everything with the K's?" And then he said, "Weirdly, I had a message from you on Facebook like 2 weeks later." So it really does work. I mean, again, I don't care if you hate it, because again, you're spending that time talking about it. Yeah. You're going to mention it to a friend and they might think it's cool and look me up and use me. So branding is so important in this day and age. I mean, that's how people remember you 100%.
So other than just your social media posts, do you have any secret strategies on how to get in front of realtors via Facebook? Do you use anything or implement anything in that?
This is kind of funny. So
maybe some stalking or anything?
Honestly, offer advice. Offer to always help. Make sure if you do offer, you're giving good advice. Like, don't just toss out an answer. But really, I know this is the strategy, I don't know that could work for others. You have to just kind of build it and try. That's literally, I don't really see most of the agents I work with. I have a huge amount up in Jacksonville and the Panhandle, all over. So I don't really get in front of them.
By the way. I truly, one of the things, the messages that I try to, like, old school for me, we built relationships. It was long before Facebook or social media, but our territory was established by how far we were willing to drive. Yeah. And you're licensed in the entire state of Florida, so going to Jacksonville, that's awesome.
Right. I'll show up to a closing up to 2 hours away. That's getting harder as you get busier. So that is also why I have my amazing loan manager, because I want to get back to that. That's the fun stuff I love doing. Yeah. But at the end of the day, just treat them like you're like true friends. Like, these are people I care about. They invite me to their kids' birthday parties. I had Thanksgiving at a client's house I'd never met before. It's really about showing that you care and not them not being the dollar. And I really tell somebody, you have to look at what your sphere is, how you want to get business. business and what you do, right? So if you work, do something with cheerleading, well, there you go, sponsor it, be a part of it, talk to the people. Again, it might take a while for you to get the business, but you got to work with what you know, because what I do may not work for you at the end of the day. I mean, not unless you're going to change your name to a K word. So otherwise that may not work out for you. But, I always I help the people in my group kind of brand themselves. Because again, I think coming up with something catchy really does work. And that's where you start, because then when you say it and people say it all the time, they remember you, and then you get to build from that.
She's giving me an idea. Maybe they're J's backwards. The John Jones.
Ooh.
Reverse hook. That might be some bling there.
I like it. You're going to have to pay her royalties, though.
Yes, I love that even more.
We'll negotiate that later.
Yes. But I really think, gimmicks that's what people love, Make sure you're doing videos, make sure you're posting, because again, before I was at a team meeting for a different company, and they said, go around and talk about your best meeting you had with an agent. And when they got to me, I said, I haven't seen an agent in 6 months. And this was pre-COVID. And they're like, what do you talk about? I said, literally, I don't see them most of the time till I hit the table. I said, I meet them on Facebook. They need me to help solve a problem. I solve it, we close it, and we roll. And I remember my manager was like, oh, that's not a good idea. That's not how you get business. And I'm like, but why not? I was like, I'm closing the most at everybody sitting at this table. Why isn't this a good idea? Because again, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, these are great platforms to go get business. You have people watching you nonstop. And the great thing about the analogy is if they stop watching, it forces them to by telling them something cool is on Facebook. Yeah. And they pick it up again. And there you are at the top.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think the premise of what you're doing is you're just becoming very visible. You're not the best kept secret in the mortgage business, right? Yeah. And if you're whatever avenue you're going to go, whether you're going to go the social media avenue like Kris is doing, or you're going to go in some other avenue, the biggest mistake that we make is being the best kept secret, in the business, and you're basically making sure that you're not a secret.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is when you're out and about socially, that everybody knows what you do. You're handing out the koozies, so you're not just there enjoying, your other people's company, but you're subtly reminding them that, hey, I do loans for a living. Don't forget about that. Maybe you could refinance with a lower interest rate. You don't have to sell them. But you've got to stay top of mind. I mean, one of the things that we coach is we go to baseball, we go to soccer games, and we're there for years with other parents that we see but they don't know what we do.
Right.
We're just not. We just don't take the time to say, hey, by the way, I do mortgages. Whatever that method is that you let them know. Put a shirt on. I do loans, right? Mortgage loans. Something.
Oh, hello! I put the fun in funding. It's hilarious. I posted about it today.
I love that. Yep.
People are trying to read it, and not be rude by staring at me. But it works, right? They probably don't even know what it is, but it gets somebody to talk. Maybe somebody comes up and says something to me.
Realtors are great at it. They walk around with their badge, right? I sell real estate basically on their badge, so somebody knows it could start a conversation. We as lenders typically don't want to do that. I don't know why, but we should.
I don't know. I think it's the old school way, going back to the offices. They're not there. First off, lunches are great. I love doing them. It's a great social time. Throw a happy hour, do those kind of things. But the busiest agents most of the time can't get away. But how can you help them? Well, you just keep calling them and you say, hey, look, I always say this, I don't need to be your only lender. Look, there's so many great ones. You guys are great. Everybody's got different products. I just need to fit in when somebody else can't. Right? Because there may be something that you guys can't do that I can do and vice versa. And that's another thing.
Renovation loans.
Right. Some people don't want to touch them. I just told John I had 5 mobile homes. Most people don't want to touch a mobile home. I have 5. I've gotten 3 closed, 2 more to go. So, but again.
Well, now you're an expert.
I am. So you have mobile homes, people send them to me. I'll do them.
Right.
But that's the thing. Don't be afraid to try something. Again, I literally just called random agents off. They didn't even know me. I just thought they have a smile. They're going to be nice and polite at least. Yeah. I literally joined networking groups. I mean, I will try almost about anything. Good. Maybe an OnlyFans page. We'll see. I don't know. But anyways, hey, those people need mortgages too.
That's
and they
right.
have a ton of money. So just figure your little niche and what works for you. And if you love it, you're going to succeed at it is what I always say.
That's great.
So
I want to take you back a little bit. So you spent some time doing a lot of different things in the mortgage business before you decided to get into originating. What is the catalyst, or what was the catalyst that made you decide, hey, you know what?
Time to make the
I'm
change.
going to go 100% commission
Right.
and make the jump.
Because you were 11 years in.
Right. So it kind of, I always knew I had to eventually figure out how to work for myself. I play well, but I don't always play well in the corporate sandbox.
Okay.
I don't like the word no. I don't hear it very often. Corporate loves the word no. So we always bumped heads. I wanted to do everything for anybody because, again, that's what, like, my niche. I love a product that most people won't want to touch. And then I just was working for a boss who was nice, but I was sitting there and I'm like, gosh, I'm working 80 hours a week, making him all the money. What the heck am I thinking? And I did it. And I called my dad and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm ready. And my dad's like, are you stupid? And then I showed him my W-2s, and then he's like, oh, I get it. So, you just have to kind of decide. And I mean, that was the thing. I did it at the wrong time. I probably had like $3,000 in my bank account. They say you should have 3 months worth, all of that. But that was the best drive I ever had because I was like, how am I going to pay my bills?
More motivating than
being broke.
Right. And that every day, I mean, I kind of woke up with that like little panic thing. And then I was like, okay, let's do this. Like,
well, I think, John, we talk about triggers all the time, like triggers to get us into doing the habits or the activities that we should be doing to drive our business. Your trigger at the time was
money.
There, that bank account.
Right.
And
yeah.
so,
and
like,
I just was working way harder.
Yeah. I can't wake up this morning and not go do something. And so, one of the things I tell LOs all the time is like, every single day you should do something that's revenue generating.
Right.
You may not spend 8 hours doing it or 3 hours doing it, but if you spent 30 minutes or an hour every single day just doing something that's revenue generating, you're going to get there, right? And for you, it sounds like that, like I woke up, I had to figure it out.
Yeah. And I didn't really have anybody. That's the crazy thing. Like, and that's where I hope to change the mortgage industry a little bit. I didn't have mentors. Most of the people I met were kind of too worried that I was going to do more than them. They didn't want to help me. So I already had the foundation. I can put a loan together blindfolded.
Yeah.
It was the other side, the sales side, I had to figure out. I mean, I got the idea of it, but, they didn't really want to take the time. Either they were producing and didn't have the time. So I was like, I told my parents I was doing this. I can't let them down. So, and then I've just been very fortunate. And some people said, well, last year was a great year for everybody, right? You could have not done anything and closed.
Sure.
So I set the same goal for myself. I wanted 100 units last year. I did 91. It's to 100 again. If I can do 100 again, then I know my business is solid, and that's how I know I can go to the next level. Set reasonable goals for yourself. You don't have to do 20 million your first year. That's okay not to. You got to build, again, that foundation because that's how people trust you to give you more business to keep going. And that's how you, no offense, get in with the right companies to work for, right? Because you guys aren't looking for somebody who was just a windfall 1 month. You want the consistent windfall every month.
Correct. That's ideal, yes.
Right. So,
So you jump out of ops, you decide to be a loan originator. You had very little net, as you just shared with us. So what'd you do? Like you got no relationships, you got no loans. Like, how did you start?
I mean, literally,
what
the
were
first
the early
thing,
days like?
Yeah, I literally got on Zillow and called these agents. So, the company I worked for had its own renovation product, and a lot of agents are afraid of it, and you don't really do that many, which is so sad. It's an amazing product.
Yep.
But that's literally was my niche. I joined a bunch of networking groups, and I went to those every day, and I listened to other business people. I read a lot of books. Michael Mayer's 7 Levels of Communication is one of my favorites. I think our biggest mistake is when you meet somebody, you look at them and say, how are they going to bring me money that minute, and not the future potential to people, right? Again, I'll do almost any loan on the planet. Why? Even if it's $80,000, I treat them like $1 million because they may have somebody, their grandmother might be ready to buy, their uncle. I mean, you don't know who they're going to recommend you to. So always treat people, you treat the CEO and the trash man equally the same. But that's what I did every day. I woke up in panic some days, because back then I did 5 deals. I lost 3. You have 2 left. You're like, oh my gosh. And that's the biggest thing, I think. And one of my bosses said to me, because I would be really grumpy and I would be so mad, and then I couldn't focus, and then the next deal would fall apart, and the next. And he's like, you have to just say F it.
Because it'll cripple you.
You do. And now when I say it, I lose the deal, great, best of luck. Call me if you need me. and I move on, and I have usually 2 more that follow right behind it, and I don't even blink at that loan anymore. But it's tough when you're broke.
That's solid advice, because I think, when we get a deal that's got hair on it, the tendency that we have is we get wrapped around the axle on it. It cripples us, and so all of the things that
you should be
were
doing,
just talking about doing, you quit doing,
right,
until the pain of that or whatever goes away. But you have a good philosophy, like, hey, and by the way, like, if you have 10 and you lose 2, it's not that big of a deal.
It's not. I mean, it's still sad. I'm competitive.
Go make sure you have 10.
Yeah, just close 15 to 20. So, but you'll literally just eventually get there. And now, I don't have to think about it as much. Obviously, now I have support staff, so I think in a different way. But I just kind of know, I believe in God. It's okay if you don't out in the world, but I do. I already think he has my 100 loans already set out for me. I just have to do the hard work to get to each one, like a little pack woman, going down the little lane and picking up the pebbles, right?
I love it.
And so I'll get there. I just know it. I mean, I have now great people like John and y'all behind me supporting me. I can call him. Like, I texted him the other day, and I'm like, what do you tell LOs when they're so tired, but they got to keep going? Because sometimes it's hard to like find that extra oomph, even in the morning when you have people yelling at you about the appraisal.
It's a stressful business. Yeah.
Like you're not doing this well enough, and you're thinking, gosh, I worked till 12 o'clock midnight on your loan. Why are you yelling at me still? Like, it's great to have those people. Finding a great mortgage coach is a great way. Even if you can't afford them, find a way to afford them. That kind of helped me. Again, in 2019, I literally switched 4 companies, not intentionally. I loved where I was at. My boss said, hey, I'm leaving. I'm at the branch closed. I hopped over with him. Not my best experience. I found that my coach was like, well, let's find you a salvage place. I went to them, knew it wasn't going to be long term. I went to one more in 2020. Great, amazing guy. He just had a different vision plan than I did, and he's kind of where he's at, and I want to keep growing.
He didn't like the case?
No, I always, that's so funny.
That's always, that's cleared up front, I'm sure.
No, that is very, I will not sign on unless you understand that I will not be marketing in your colors. Like, I built this brand too much to, be a part of it. So I'm always powered by the company. But yeah, and then I was like, I just said to myself, like, it's time to go broker. Like, I just need a little bit more of the freedom, and I have this vision to build. And so you just got to wake up every day positive and keep doing it. And reading books is really there's so much great. Barry Habib's, I just blanked
Money
out.
in the Streets.
Money in the Streets.
Like, and I think I really like felt one part of the book where he talked about, have you read it?
Yes.
Yeah, where he talked about how every day he went through the Jersey toll.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And, every day you could have, every day, probably millions of loan officers just tossed their coins and kept going, and he didn't. Yep. He went through the thing every day and handed his business card, and it made change every single time. Yep. And then he ended up, getting 17 deals off that? That's how I think. Like, if you guys are all swimming down this way, there might be a shark or something over here, but I'm going to make friends with it and keep going around and figure it out and do something different. Just always walk the path right next to everybody and figure out your little niche.
When I first started, I kind of did a similar thing. I had left Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and that was my market, right? So for 2 years, I would call on every branch once a month. I'd go around to the branch.
No kidding.
They were all younger, in their mid to late 20s, ready to buy homes, and I probably did 20 deals in a 2-year period. I didn't know a bunch of realtors. Another thing that I did was I did a firefighter's loan, and then went to the station, did a presentation, and then next thing you know, I did 6 or 8 firefighters over the next couple of years.
See?
So I mean, once you've helped somebody,
right,
like you said, right, and they realize that you're there to help them get into home ownership, they're going to refer all their friends and family to you because they know you care and really, know.
And don't be afraid. Just do it. You have nothing to lose. I mean, at the end of the day, you analyze it. If it didn't work out, why didn't it work out? Do you need to tweak a couple things? Or was it just a bad idea? And cut your losses. Like, don't keep straggling on it. Like, it's okay to lose, like, honestly. Yeah. And that's a last little tidbit, because I know we're about to wind this up. One thing I always ask people when I meet with loan officers who are producing is, what did you do wrong? Where did you fail? Everybody wants to ask the success side to it. Well, of course, like, that's the easy side. I want to know what you did wrong already. So if I hit it, I know how to already get around it, or I avoid it altogether.
Yep. Don't learn anything in success. We only learn in failure.
That is legit true.
Right.
So.
Dude, I love it. You are full of energy.
Thanks.
Before we wrap up, though, I'm curious. Do you have your goals for like the next 3 to 5 years? I know you have some vision.
I do.
If you want to give us a little secret, but
you'll have to bring me back closer to November because I have this fun idea, but I'm putting it all together right now. But yeah, my goal really, I want to have 5 branches in the next 5 years.
Okay.
Make my first $1 million in 5.
Okay.
And really, honestly, I want to just build a good, solid team of LOs and really help them and kind of mentor them the way I didn't, unfortunately, get to have that experience.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. John and I have talked about this before. Our business doesn't do teams really great. You know, real estate does teams really great. Mortgage business doesn't do teams really great. And I think sometimes, Kris, it's because, and this is what I love about your mindset, is you just want to help and serve people. I think a lot of your top producing LOs or branch managers in our business, they don't necessarily have the skill set or the mindset to be that mentor. Right. They're just worried about, hey, by the way, we're closing 60 loans this month. 30 of them are mine. They don't have time
to help lead.
See, I love that. There's a girl, Kelly Stewart. She's on our team. She said she wanted to do 4 to 7 million this year. I think she'll hit 6 million by the end of this month or something. We just had lunch today. Like, it's cool. She calls me for help. Like, I love that, and I love her success. I'm more excited about her success than really, honestly, mine. And awesome. So right now, I think I have like 4 or 5 people on my team, and I'm helping, and hopefully that will grow even more and more, and eventually, I'll get to dominate the state of Florida.
Coaching with a K.
Coaching with the K. See, thinking ahead. I didn't even think of that. So if I come up with that, I'll
royalty. We'll have the double J's. Yep. It's a trade-off.
Awesome. Well, Kris, thanks for joining us.
Clear to close with Kris.
Anything you wish we would have asked you that we didn't get to?
No, I think you kind of nailed it. This was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, it's as outgoing as I am. I hate public speaking, like petrified of it. And I was like, oh my God, is everybody going to be staring at me awkwardly? And then I slur all my S's.
Just the 300 people in the audience.
That's it. They did great.
You did fine.
So no, I have a lot of fun, and I hope it can come back again because again, I have something brewing, and
we will definitely invite you back for sure. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Contacts to Kontracts podcast. On behalf of John Jones and Kris Radermacher, I'm Bryan Lovell, and the 3 of us want you to know if there's anything you need, always here to serve.